Hi everyone, and today we'll be reviewing the LG C4, and this is a long-term review. I've had the LG C4 for about a year or so, and I also have the LG C1, which I've used for about 4 years. So I'll be discussing about primarily the LG C4 and how it compares to the older C1 version, and if you should be going for the LG C4 since that is still available while the C5 is coming out into the market right now. So we'll be talking about the picture quality, the sound quality, the gaming performance, its OS and its user experience, its smart features, and possibly the most important, long-term reliability. So let's get to it. So first we'll talk about the picture quality. Now, the picture quality of the LG C4 is basically the benchmark that you measure all TVs from. It is at pretty much the pinnacle of what the best picture quality can look like. And the only caveat in the previous models was with the brightness. In the C4, the new LG Evo panel is being used. So that basically gives you a 25 to 30% brightness increase. Now, how does that compare to real world scenarios? Now, I wouldn't say that you should be watching this TV under brightly lit scenarios, but if your room is medium lit, suppose there is light coming in from one side, not strong, but let's say you have a couple of LED bulbs and there's a reflection of it, then yes, in that case, it is viewable. The colors don't wash out that much. There is enough brightness from the TV, and yes, that's viewable. This problem did exist in C1. So with the C1, you needed to have all your light sources to not point at the TV directly. They could either be ambient lighting, or if there were strong light sources, they had to be placed behind the TV so that there's no direct reflection on the TV. Now with the LG C1, I'm using it in my bedroom, and with the C4, I'm using it in my living room. Now, since there is a difference in brightness, and I thought that I could use it in the living room. And to my satisfaction, I would say if I can control the light in the living room, then yes, it's viewable. You can't use the C4 with the curtains open during daytime. That would create reflections, and the TV isn't just bright enough that it can give you the picture quality that comes out of it. With the C4, the way I use it is, I think, how most people should be using it if you want the best picture quality all the time. If it's daytime, cover your curtains. Maybe you can have a couple of light sources that are giving off light at the TV. That's okay. But anything more than that will give you issues. In terms of color accuracy, this is the gold standard. I just want to point one thing over here. Turn off all AI-based features. They are an overkill. You don't need that. You should be adjusting whatever is needed according to yourself. For example, the gamma profile. The gamma profile you should be adjusting yourself. If it's a brightly lit room, go for a 2.2. If it is a dimly lit room, possibly go for a 2.0 or the 1886 if the room is pitch black. But that crushes your black a little bit. So I would say either 2.2 or 2.0. And with the HDR, since you have increased brightness, the colors do pop out a little more. And yes, the C4 is a better panel than the C1, clearly. Another thing that I want to point out, the motion handling, the motion smoothing that it does, please turn that off. There's the soap opera effect that comes into play over here, and it's quite noticeable. So any type of motion smoothing, please turn that off. It'll just ruin the experience. And if you're watching a sports like cricket, you'll have the ball going in different frames. It will not be the same ball. It will look as if the ball is trailing. Now, this happens when there is frame manipulation going on by the TV itself. So turn all of those features off. You don't need that. It's just an overkill. A lot of people in the professional video world are also stating, all the manufacturers, to actually turn this off because this doesn't enhance the experience in any way. It's just a gimmick. It's usually turned on by default in some of the modes. So go to whichever mode you're going for and turn that off. When we're talking about modes, I feel the standard mode is okay for most of the scenarios. The filmmaker mode is where it shines, especially when you're watching TV. And if, let's say, you're on Prime Video and filmmaker mode gets activated, let it be. It definitely does a good job. With gaming, it goes into a game optimizer mode. and there are different profiles that you can set at, which changes the gamma as well, or the black levels. So depends on the game that I'm playing and maybe the time of day of the game itself. So if there is, let's say, a dark scene, then I tend to go towards the RPG preset, which has the black levels a little bit elevated. If it's a really bright scene, then I tend to go over to standard mode. If you do get that TV, then play around with the settings a little bit. There are minor adjustments to be made here and there, but to each their own. The way I like it might be different from the way that you like it. Sound quality. Now, sound quality I've tested for both the C4 and the C1. The C4 is an improvement over the C1, but just barely. Both sound terrible, and I would suggest you at least get a soundbar. My recommendation would be to get yourself a home theater setup, a 5.1, which would cost you somewhere around a lakh. And that would do justice to what picture you're actually viewing. So with the picture, you are just taking care of one of your senses, which is sight. The sound, your ears, that is. So that also needs to be as good as what you're watching. And that will only come if you have a dedicated home theater. Soundbars, I would only say if you have space limitations, and try not to go for any fancy soundbars over the top, which have 11.1.4 channels. That doesn't make any sense. A simple 5.1 soundbar, or a soundbar, maybe something like the Samsung Q990 FD. I don't know which number they're at now, but yeah, the Q990 series, that's a pretty good soundbar if you're limited on space. But if you're not, if you have the budget and if you have the space and you have the keen of setting it up, then please go for a dedicated home theater, because the sound profile has to match what you're viewing on the screen so that you have a complete experience. Now let's talk about gaming. Now with gaming, it offers you 144 hertz of refresh rate. That's plentiful for even PC gaming. So whether you are gaming on your PC or your console, that's good enough. I have done both. I have a PC setup as well as a PS5, and no complaints whatsoever. The response time is under 1 ms, so no complaints for the response time as well. It's instantaneous since it's an OLED. So yeah, for gaming, it's the best panel you can have. Now, let's talk about the OS and the user experience that comes with it. Now, with the LG OS, I've been, again, using the C4 and the C1. Now, the C1 doesn't get the upgradation that the C4 gets. C4 gets about 5 years of upgradation to their next generation of OSs. But the experience in what I got from the C1 is far better than in the C4. But still, it is laggy when you compare it to something like an Apple TV, where the experience is just so snappy. Or if you've connected, let's say, a PlayStation or a PC to your TV, then it's just instantaneous. That experience you don't get from this TV. It's not the pinnacle of user experience for sure. It is doable. You can be a little annoyed maybe sometimes with it, but it's not a deal breaker for sure. If you do have an additional 10, 12,000 for it, then I would suggest you go with an Apple TV 4K, so that the experience, in case you want that snappiness, then you will get it out of the Apple TV. And don't go for any other set-top box. It'll just annoy you even more. The only recommendation that I can give, and I'm not an Apple fan, but sadly, that's the only product that's fast enough, which will seem like an upgrade from the LG's WebOS. Now, precautions that you must take with this TV, and there are precautions. And these are very serious precautions. So please pay heed to them. Otherwise, your experience with this TV will deteriorate in a couple of years. So first thing, don't treat this TV like you would treat an LCD TV. It's just not the same. You can't manhandle it. You can't clean it using a cloth and put pressure on it. Don't do all of that. You need to take care of it, both in terms of usage and how you clean it and maintaining it. So a few tips that I have used over the years, and I've understood also how to take care of it. So cleaning. The first important thing is cleaning it. Now, don't just clean it every week. You don't need to do that. Only clean it if you have smudges on it, if you have a layer of dust on it. And when you do clean it, use a fresh microfiber cloth and make sure that there are no particles inside the microfiber cloth. Because if you have any kind of metallic particles in the microfiber cloth, they will scratch up the screen. And that's the last thing you want to do to a 2 lakh TV. And try to use a non-damaging cleanser. It's not supposed to be acidic, and please don't use colon. That's not the way to go. I would suggest that you use distilled water because that's the best. That's neutral and it's very cheap. You can get distilled water pretty much anywhere. That's for I think 40 or 50 rupees. Just get that, clean it with a microfiber cloth. That's all you need. And the vents at the back, clean them as well. Now those vents shouldn't be blocked if you live in a dusty environment like I do in Gurgaon. So clean them every 2 or 3 weeks and do it yourself. Please don't ask anyone else to do it. Please don't ask your house help to do it. If they put smudges on the TV, you will have to clean them, or if they put pressure on the screen, because the subpixel layout is extremely close to the screen. If you put any pressure, that means the subpixel layer will get pressure and that can lead to pixel degradation. So in any sort of cleaning, no pressure is to be put on the screen whatsoever. So whenever you clean it, it has to be done very lightly with the lightest touch possible. The second advice that I would give you is with a UPS. Use a UPS. I had the unfortunate incident of not using a UPS for about 4 to 5 months because my main online UPS I just got lazy to get the repairs done, plain and simple. And my entire setup was without a UPS. So the light did switch on and off quickly. And in that, the power unit of my TV got damaged. It's an expensive piece of equipment. So whatever you do in India, especially this case, there are power surges, there are voltage spikes. So you need to protect it. My third advice over here is regarding brightness. Now, a lot of people want their screens to be as brightly lit as possible, or they have the HDR on or the game optimizer on. Now with all of this, the brightness is always at its peak. Now with OLEDs, you have to realize that the peak brightness actually reduces the lifespan of your OLED product. Now, apart from reducing the life of the product, it also introduces a risk of burn-in. My suggestion over here would be that if you use 100% brightness, use it for short bursts. If let's say you are watching it in harsh lighting, or if you have people over and you want a wide viewing angle and you do have lights on, then in that case, yes, go for 100% brightness. But if it's you and you have the control over lighting, you can dim your lights and reduce the brightness to even 70%. That is enough. 70 to 80% is the sweet spot for your brightness. In the settings, I would suggest that you tick off peak brightness option. They have a peak brightness option over there. You tick that off and you manually set the brightness. Now what this will do, this will ensure that your TV panel is preserved for at least a decade. The more you use your panel at 100%, the faster it'll degrade. And I have seen some instances where the panel has degraded just in 3 years. And I have a panel which is 4 years old, and there's no degradation whatsoever. I do take care of it. I am mindful of static logos. If there is something which is static, then the panel itself takes care of it, but I tend to skip all of that content if there is any static content like this. And there are settings like the pixel shifting that you should change it to high. I think by default it's at low or medium, but change it to high. That will keep on shifting those static logos pixel by pixel. You won't notice them for sure. Nobody can. It'll shift the logo pixel by pixel so that it's not permanent on one pixel. And this obviously gives you less risk of burn-in. Now let's talk about the burn-in issue. Now, if you follow all of the things, all of the precautions that I mentioned, then your risk of burn-in will be minimized. And with the LG C1 to C4 models, the risk of burn-in has been minimized, especially coming from the CX models. So I would say if you take care of your panel, if you use the TV in a mindful manner, there is absolutely no reason to worry. LG gives you about 3 years of warranty. I would suggest that you go and extend the warranty, go up to 5 years. Now, I will share my costing as well. I bought the C4 for 1.68. I paid 20,000 more for the 2 years extended that comes from LG, bringing it to 1.84. The rest, I paid 6,000 for the UPS, and that brings my total up to 1.9. So 1.9 is the entire TV that's gonna cost you, and you'll have warranty up to 5 years. So my final verdict: the LG C4, fantastic TV. The price has gotten better, I would say, over the years. I got the C1 at 1.6. I got the C4 also at a similar price. So over the years, the price really hasn't changed while the technology has improved. So yeah, the pricing is a little expensive, obviously, with the other TVs that you look at. But for a 65-inch at 1.9, including the entire warranty and UPS, I would say for the picture quality and the experience that it gives you, it's worth it. You don't get this kind of experience anywhere else.